Hi everybody, my name is Joey Fight. I'm the founder of thephysicaleducator.com and a physical education teacher here in Montreal, Canada. Welcome back to the Phys Ed Show. So this is my online series where I share ideas, resources, and tactics from my teaching in the hopes of inspiring and supporting you to take your teaching to the next level. In today's episode of the vlog, I'm going to be going over the difference between grade level outcomes and student learning targets. And before I continue, I have to give a shout out to my friend Kevin Tiller, who was the original person who on Twitter called me out and asked me if I could create a video that would go over the difference between the two. So that being said, let's get right into the content. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching. As I follow the PhysEd, PE chat, ESPE chat, and SecPhysEd hashtags on Twitter, as well as a lot of the different professional conversations that take place in different physical education Facebook groups that I'm a member of, I see a lot of teachers using their national or state grade level outcomes as student learning targets in their lessons. Now don't get me wrong, this is totally a step in the right direction. The fact that PE teachers are thinking about sharing objectives with their students means that those teachers are doing their best to promote learning within their lessons. That being said, grade level outcomes and student learning targets are not the same thing. The difference between the two is actually quite important, so let's take a look at each one and see how they differ. Grade level outcomes are the instructional objectives that describe what students should be able to do, know, and understand at specific grade levels. GLOs will describe what the evidence of mastery will look like from the teacher's perspective. They are complex, objective statements written in teacher-friendly language that serve to guide the teacher's planning process as they design standards-based learning opportunities for their students. Student learning targets, on the other hand, are the goals for lessons, units, and courses, or even the occasional sweet YouTube video. They are created based on the standards and grade level outcomes and are used to support student learning by making it easy for the students to understand where they are going in their learning. Effective student learning targets are written in concrete, student-friendly language that is designed to be accessible to the learners. Student learning targets typically begin with I can and are found posted in gymnasiums and classrooms so that they can be tracked by both the students and the teacher throughout the entire learning journey. To make student learning targets really effective, it's best for students to be able to unpack the SLTs with the guidance of their teacher in order to best discuss, analyze, make sense of, and use them to enhance their learning. In the absolute very best of situations, student learning targets can also be co-authored by both the teacher and the students, allowing students to really truly take ownership of their learning. Okay, so now that we have a better idea of the difference between grade level outcomes and student learning targets, let's take a look at when each gets used in the learning process. Grade level outcomes are used before the learning even begins. They're used by the teacher when that teacher is designing lessons and units within their physical education program. Through a process called standards-based instructional design, GLOs are unpacked in order for the teacher to gain a crystal clear idea on what learning will look like so that that teacher can go out and design assessment tools and instructional activities that are going to help the students master the skills, knowledge, and understandings that are all packed within the grade level outcome. I shared a couple resources on what standards-based instructional design looks like in physical education in the show notes for this episode, which you can find linked in the description below. While you're down there, this would be a perfect time for you to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications to make sure that you know when my next videos go live. Okay, on to how we use student learning targets. Student learning targets should be shared and posted up on the wall at the start of a unit or a lesson. Just as I mentioned earlier, students and the teacher should have a discussion in which they unpack the learning targets so that students have a clear idea of where they are going in their learning. This is the exact same process that teachers go through when they're working with the grade level outcomes. Having students unpack the student learning targets in this way invites those students to become active partners in regard to their progress and provides them with the language that they'll need for metacognition throughout their learning journey. Student learning targets should be reflected on and reviewed throughout the entire learning process. Doing so provides regular reminders to the students in regards to where they are going, but also invites them to reflect on where they are currently at in their learning and how they can close the gap between those two places. Okay, so what can student learning targets look like in physical education? Here are a few examples of SLTs that I've created based on the grade level outcomes that we focus on in my phys ed program. For the dribbles with feet in general space with control of the ball and body GLO that my grade 2 students focus on in our foot skills unit, 3 learning targets that I have used in the past include: I can break down dribbling with feet into its important keys, I can stay in control of a ball that I am dribbling with my feet as I play different games, and I can assess my friends' dribbling and give them 2 tips that will help them improve. Notice how all 3 of these examples were clearly aligned to the grade level outcome, but written in language that is easy for the students in grade 2 to understand. Alright, let's check out a middle school outcome. For the sets and monitors, a self-selected physical activity goal for aerobic and/or muscle strengthening activity based on current fitness level outcome that my grade 6 students focus on in our SMART goals unit. Examples of student learning targets I created for the unit and its lessons include: I can assess my fitness test results and determine my fitness strengths and weaknesses. I can create a physical activity SMART goal and action plan that will help improve my current fitness level. I can rate my action plan and determine why it was effective or not. Again, pay attention to the language and how it's different than the language in the grade 2 examples, yet still very appropriate for middle school learners. Also, you may have noticed that the verbs that I use in the student learning targets all promote higher order thinking. To share these student learning targets with my students, I use the what, why, how graphics that I created for my gym. In the what section, I share the overall theme or focus of the day's lesson. In the why section, I work with my students to develop a sense of purpose and meaning in regards to the learning we're about to take on. This process could be a whole other video worth of content, but the big idea here is that my students and I take the focus and the targets for that day and find a link to our overall goal of living as many adventures as possible by developing our physical literacy. If you want to learn more about tying meaning into your teaching and your students' learning, check out the work of my friends Andy Vasley and Doug Gleddy, who are just really great at this and have amazing blog posts on the topic. Now in the how section, that's where I share the student learning targets for that day's lesson. Again, they're written in I can statements and student-friendly language, and whenever possible, I really try to unpack each target to make sure that my students are crystal clear on what they will be learning that day, what they're trying to achieve. Okay, let's wrap up. So grade level outcomes are the teacher-friendly descriptions of what students should be able to do, know, and understand at any given grade level. And student learning targets are the student-friendly outcomes that provide students with the bite-sized learning that they are aiming for by the end of a lesson, unit, or course. Student learning targets are essential because they represent clear and manageable goals that motivate students to accomplish tasks by letting them know that success is within their reach. They provide students with opportunities for short-term success, which helps students build their confidence as they experience success at previous attempts. And they let students know where they are as they provide students with opportunities to reflect on why they reached or didn't quite reach the target. This helps students understand what they can do or what they know and what they still need to learn. If you'd like to continue to learn more about student learning targets and grade level outcomes, I really recommend that you check out the ASCD's Learning Targets Helping Students Aim for Understanding in Today's Lessons, which has chapters that are freely available online as a PDF. I provided links to it in the show notes that are linked below. Also, another resource I really recommend is EL Education's Leaders of Their Own Learning, Transforming Schools Through Student Engaged Assessment, which is actually one of the books that I'm currently exploring with my PLC at school. Okay, that's it for today's episode of The Phys Ed Show. If you like this video, please hit that like button below, and if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. Don't forget that you can also subscribe to the Phys Ed Show podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and I'll also be hosting a few live episodes of the Phys Ed Show, which will air on the physicaleducator.com's Facebook page, so make sure to go over to that page and give it a like if you want to attend those events. Once again, my name is Joey Fight from thephysicaleducator.com. Thanks so much for watching this episode of The Phys Ed Show, and happy teaching.